everyone, I'm Caitlin White and you're watching Cougars Corner. Today we have a recap of the men's and women's hockey team as they were the only Cougars who saw action this past weekend. But we will also have a preview of this weekend's action, an interview with Quinn Bromley and Trent Mounter, and the first installment of the Karsten and Mark Show. All this is coming up on your Cougars Corner. Starting on Friday night, the women's hockey team headed north on Crowchild Trail to the home of the Calgary Dinos one last time this season. After a scoreless first period, the Dinos struck midway through the second to make it a 1-0 lead. The scoreboard stayed the same for quite some time. But the Cougars ramped up the pressure in the third and outshot the Dinos in the game 36-13. The Cougars pulled their goaltender in the final minute of the game, and Mackenzie Butts shot a goal from the point to tie the game up and send it into overtime. And in overtime, the Dinos unfortunately took a penalty and killed it off before scoring the game-winning goal to beat the Cougars 2-1. Tuesday was Crowchild Classic at the Scotiabank Saddledome, where these two rivals met one last time. Just like Friday night, the two teams were held scoreless after 20 minutes, and Mount Royal outshot Calgary 27-15. The Dinos had an early chance to open up the scoring as Rachel Paul was brought down on a breakaway, awarding her a penalty shot. But Paul missed the net to keep it scoreless. Just under 5 minutes in the second, Paul would redeem herself and get the Dinos on the board. In the third, Mount Royal ramped up the pressure once again and ended up tying the game with an Anna Perschke shot off the face-off.
At least one opportunity on the advantage, and they just scored.
Right off the face-off. Anna Perschke, I believe, took the shot.
But the Dinos didn't take long to respond. A shot from the face-off circle bounced off the board and took an unfortunate bounce off the back of the Cougars goaltender Zoe Dubeauville's pad, and Taylor Beck was able to put it home. And that would end up being the final score of 2-1 for the Dinos. The Cougars won't have to wait long because the Saskatchewan Huskies are coming to Flames Community Arena this weekend. The women will look to solidify a playoff spot as they are currently tied for 5th place and hold the tiebreaker over the Cougars from Regina. Puck drop against the Huskies is on Friday at 7 p.m. and the rematch is on Saturday at 6 p.m. Moving on to the men's side, where on Friday night they played host to the Calgary Dinos at Flames Community Arena. The Dinos didn't wait long to start the score as Bradley Schoonbart scored in the first minute. MRU then got a chance to try and settle into the game and let nothing by until the second. Riley Sheen doubled Calgary's lead, and then 30 seconds into the third, they scored on a power play to make it 3-0. The Cougars now hadn't scored for 8 straight periods, but Bradley Kennedy fixed that with 5 minutes to go with a goal of his own.
For Croker, now Gary. Gary coming across, one-timer from Kennedy, scores!
But that was how the game ended with a 3-1 Dinos win. Then Tuesday, of course, was the rematch at Scotiabank Saddledome. Almost 11,500 people took to this game, and the teams did not disappoint. Riley Morris made some spectacular saves to keep the Cougars in the game, including his scorpion kick to keep the puck out of the net. In the second period, Tyson Helgeson sent a shot from the point towards the net before Connor Rankin tipped it in and brought the Cougars fans to their feet for a 1-0 lead.
Helgeson walks down with it, shot, scores! Tyson Helgeson, and the Cougars lead at 1-0.
Mount Royal would hold this lead until the third period. Chris Rockman would finally solve Morris as his shot just squeezed by to tie the game. In the final minutes, the Cougars took a late penalty, and the Dinos' Riley Sheen capitalized on it with 3 seconds left in regulation to win it for the Dinos. The Cougars still hold on to the 4th spot in Canada West and will have to win their remaining 4 games to guarantee themselves home ice in the first round of playoffs. Any losses during this span will put them home ice destiny in UBC's hands, as they are only 2 points behind the Cougars. This weekend, the men travel to Saskatoon to take on the U Sports 3rd-ranked Saskatchewan Huskies. Now let's take a look at what's coming up for this weekend. Our Cougars volleyball teams are finally back at Kenyon Court after spending all of January on the road. The men and women will be taking on the Trinity Western Spartans. The men are looking to push for a home playoff berth as they are sitting with 26 points and the Spartans are only 4 points behind them. The men were nursing a lot of injuries on their starting line against McEwen, so hopefully the team will be at full strength to take on this close competitor. The women have a much tougher matchup as the Spartans are ranked 1st in Canada West with 16 wins on the season. The women will look to take advantage of home court and try to secure a playoff spot. Women's game starts at 6 p.m. on Friday, 5 p.m. on Saturday, and the men follow both games. Moving on to men's basketball, they are looking for redemption from their tough weekend matchup against the Saskatchewan Huskies. The men took 2 losses that placed them tied with UBCO for points and the last playoff spot. The good news is that UBCO has no more games to play, so if the Cougars can grab a few wins this weekend, they will have a more comfortable playoff grab. The men are on the road at Brandon University, who only have 3 wins on the season, so it's looking good for our Cougars. Women's basketball are kind of just looking to end the year on a positive note. They are completely out of the playoff potential, having only 2 wins this season. But they're taking on the Brandon Bobcats, who only have 3 wins this season. So it's going to be a tight, competitive matchup to end our women's Cougars season. And that was your game recap and preview for this Cougars Corner.